And welcome to day 46 of the Atlantic Hurricane Season, day number 64 in the Eastern Pacific. It's July the 16th, and there's currently only one system active at the moment, and that's in the Western Pacific. Tropical Depression 8W has formed in the past few hours and is likely to become the next tropical storm in the Western Pacific, and indeed in the whole world. That's currently designated name Isang in the Philippines. The Philippine name for it, that is, because the storm is very close to the Philippine coast at the moment, moving towards the northwest. There it is, Tropical Depression 8W, just off to the east of the Philippine Islands, and expected to move through the northwest, just off the coast of Luzon, and then moving towards the northwest, possibly affecting Taiwan and China as well, which obviously isn't good news after what we saw from Sulik very recently. In the Atlantic, things fairly quiet at the moment. You can see a few clouds dotted about throughout the whole ocean, really. A bit of activity in the Gulf of Mexico that isn't likely to develop into anything, and the Central Atlantic looks quiet as well. No Cape Verde type systems looking to develop at the moment. The Indian Ocean remains fairly quiet as well. The usual stuff going on in the Bay of Bengal, but nothing that is any credible significant risk of developing into a tropical storm in the next 2 days or so. Looking at the sea surface temperatures then, waters remaining fairly warm in the Eastern Pacific, where we could see our next storm forming fairly soon according to some of the models. Water temperatures near 30 degrees along the Mexican coast. The northwestern Gulf of Mexico is the hottest point of the Atlantic at the moment as well, around 30 degree waters here. And in the Pacific as well, the South China Sea and the coast off the Philippines as well. Very warm waters off these coasts, and obviously very good conditions for tropical cyclone development. And indeed we do have a tropical cyclone developing right now, Tropical Depression 8W, Isang the Philippine name. The wind is currently 30 miles per hour, pressure's 1004 millibars, position currently 15 degrees north, 124.8 degrees east, and the storm's expected to turn into a tropical storm very soon in the next 24 hours or so, before passing fairly close, or maybe even making landfall over the northern tip of Luzon, and then moving towards the northwest, perhaps north-northwest, skimming the western coast of Taiwan, and then possibly making landfall in China. That's the official forecast anyway. Signal 1 warnings in effect for virtually the northern half of Luzon in the Philippines. More detailed information on the warnings is on the website right now. This is the latest 24-hour imagery of the storm. You can see it forming towards, moving towards the northwest in the past 24 hours. It's really got its act together, as a matter of fact, and you can see quite a burst forming in the past few hours. You can see a bit of an explosion going on there in those last few frames, which is fairly intriguing, because the storm that could increase the storm's development and turn it into a tropical storm before it makes landfall in the Philippines. Obviously we don't know what speed it will be, probably 40 to 45 miles per hour once it makes its closest approach to the Philippines, but it is the Western Pacific, and we could get a bit of a surprise perhaps if the storm continues to look as impressive as it is doing at the moment. Looking at the model runs then, first of all for the Atlantic and the Eastern Pacific, the CMC fairly quiet, apart from possibly predicting a bit of a system forming in the Eastern Pacific towards the end of that run, but nothing really spectacular. The ECMWF model is fairly similar, however this goes to longer range, by the way. This one goes out to 10 days, and you can see in those last few frames there, 9 and 10 days out, you can see a significant storm forming in the Eastern Pacific, possibly becoming a hurricane, but obviously at such a range it will be it may change in future. The GFS model has a system moving out into the Eastern Pacific as well, possibly a bit of an Atlantic tropical wave moving across, but nothing that develops into a tropical storm. The NavGem model, I believe, has something fairly similar as well. As a matter of fact, nothing in the Eastern Pacific, but it does have a bit of a wave moving in the Atlantic, but nothing noteworthy, or in terms of significant development, nothing that will threaten any land areas either. Looking at the CMC model in the Western Pacific, you can see the current storm, Isang, probably a weak storm moving into China, and then a much stronger storm in the South China Sea, possibly affecting the island of Hainan and then Vietnam. The GFS model has something fairly similar, though less aggressive, with a system forming in the South China Sea. Doesn't really pick up on 8W at all, so that I assume it would go towards a very weak system towards the north-northwest, but does predict another system in the South China Sea. Looking at the overall predictor season scores then, July the 16th, no change, as there is no new tropical storms yet, though I have a feeling that will be very different by this time tomorrow, by the next bulletin. But Ken remains in first place with 79, Typhoon Belper in second with 71, and William in third place with 71 points as well. You can submit your own storm totals at the website force13.com/interactive. Just click the 2013 Predictor Season button and fill in the form, and it should be uploaded to the leaderboard in due course, your prediction. But do hurry, because the scores are going down as time goes on, because accuracy decreases, skill increases, obviously with the more time that passes. So what happened on this day on July the 16th then? Lots of things, as a matter of fact. Couldn't fit all of them on. In 1974, Subtropical Storm 2 formed in the Atlantic. That one's pictured there. 1976, Tropical Storm Diana formed in the Eastern Pacific. Claudette formed in the Central Atlantic in 79. Tropical Storm Eugene formed in the Eastern Pacific in 1981. That one's pictured as well. And in 1986, Tropical Storm Estelle formed in the Eastern Pacific too. In 1994, Tropical Storm Amelia formed in the Eastern Pacific. In 1996, Eve peaked as a Category 5 super typhoon in the Western Pacific. That one's pictured there. In 1997, Tropical Storm Danny formed in the Gulf of Mexico. That's also pictured there, just south of Louisiana. And in 2002, Typhoon Halong turned post-tropical near Japan after causing $90 million in damages on the Japanese coast there. Also, 2003, Tropical Storm Danny formed in the Atlantic, another one. 2004, Tropical Storm Kompasu dissipated over China. In 2005, Hurricanes Emily and Typhoon Haitang both peaked as a Category 5 storm. In 2006, Tropical Storm Daniel formed in the Eastern Pacific. In 2008, Fausto formed in the Eastern Pacific as well. And in 2011, Tropical Storm Tokaj was absorbed by Maon in the Western Pacific on this day on July the 16th. And don't forget, you can track any storm that forms, and indeed the ones that are currently forming. Speaking about Tropical Depression 8W in particular there, we'll be tracking that one as it goes along on the website force13.com/storm tracking. That's the main page for the storm tracking, the nerve centre you could call it, I suppose, which shows the overview map with the current storms positions, and at the top and bottom tables which show which storms are active, what their intensities are, and any warnings that are currently in effect at a glance. And then you can go more in depth to the tracking maps for each individual basin to see where the storm's going, the tracking map, and indeed any more information about the storm and warning information in more detail, because obviously that's fairly relevant and indeed important at this time, especially in the Philippines at the moment, where we have Signal 1 warnings in effect, and they could be raised to Signal 2 warnings depending how the storm progresses over the next few days. And don't forget the social pages, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Force 13 is on all three of those, and please show your support by doing the usual liking, following, subscribing, favouriting, commenting and anything else that you see fit. Please do so. I'd love to hear from you, and I do appreciate any comments that come in. And if you do have any questions, just send in your question to the YouTube channel, and or private message if you so wish, and I'll get back to you in due course if it is relevant to tropical storms, or indeed anything else that I'll comment on, whatever you wish. But for the time being, the next bulletin will be coming up tomorrow. That will be Wednesday morning, early hours of Wednesday morning, midnight UTC. That'll be the 17th of July. But that's all for now.